new tool day. "20 by 5" carbon steel trowel by Craft. I've never had one of these before, and I searched internet. Somebody was talking to me about the old Craft trowels. I've got one of their Hawks and I really like it, the 16 magnesium. And I searched, and the only one I could find, which was on eBay, was this one here, and it's taken a little while for it to get here because of postage and stuff. And apparently, according to the page, it was the last one. Otherwise, this particular brand of trowel in this size, can't get them. So I was quite stoked to get this. I did a little bit of research on them. Apparently it's a Swedish company, but if you look on the label there, it says made in the USA somewhere. I'm sure, yeah, down here, that made in the USA. So it's got a rubber handle. It looks a little bit crude, to be honest with you. If you look on the, so it's been like hand ground off around here. You can see where the grinding stopped there, and that's where it's been cast, and it's been ground off at the back. I don't quite understand why that's happened. Maybe it's something to do with the weight of it. They tried to balance it out perfectly. I'm not sure. Let's see the toe there. That's been ground down by hand. You see, it's quite crudely done, to be honest with you. That. I mean, it feels right to the hand, but. The other thing is this trowel has got a slight curve in it, which isn't my favourite thing. With my, see if I hold it flat on the side there, see how much movement is. I mean, the side's not perfectly flat. Spin it round the other way, and you can see it wants to spin where it's curved. Look, there's quite a bit of curve in it, good 2 or 3 millimeters. The back's quite flat. If I lift it, that's me pushing the front and lifting the back up. See, my Marshalltown, it's pretty much all this edge is pretty much straight, and it's only the very ends that suddenly flick up, like from about here to here. Whereas this trowel's got a continuous curve all the way down there. It's not broken in at all. The edges are at right angles. There's no way you'd be able to run your thumb up and down, so it needs breaking in. So I'm going to start using this today and start breaking it in. First impressions, it feels chunky, definitely. It feels like it may be a trowel at last, but certainly the refined finishing is a little bit crude, to be honest with you. But we'll see how it performs. I'll start using it today, and it's going to take a while to break this one in. So there you go. 20 by 5" plastering trowel in carbon steel by Craft. So here we are in the van just before 7 o'clock. I'm about to go and get a shower. I'm just sitting here waiting for things to be missed. Almost there, the mirror's almost done. So yeah, a little bit of frost this morning. Well, ice, in fact. It was ice, it wasn't frost, it was ice. We've got a couple of little jobs to do today. I'm not sure how much filming we'll get done. We've had a couple of large jobs, and all the while I've been backing up a load of little jobs that tend to do that. And I'll do a week of little bits and pieces, try and get them all together. So we'll see how it goes. I'm working on pictures really. I've not been to see these jobs. Been advice, picture of it. Okay, so that's what we're walking into. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm glad it's Friday. This weekend supposed to be going away for somebody's 50th. We're supposed to be going to Devizes. There's a campsite there with a pub and stuff on the canal. I mean, we go camping quite a bit, Judy and I. We take the kids quite often. But, you know, it's October, and they've got bell tents there, so we've kind of hired one of those, we think. We're not sure, we haven't got confirmation yet, but I don't know if I'm going to get finished from work, get all the way over to the Devizes, even though we don't have a tent set up. But yeah, it's ice, camping. I mean, I'm outdoorsy, but I'm not that outdoorsy. Jesus. Anyway, right, looks like we're demisting. Let's go and get Shay and do some work today, shall we? Let's do that. So this is the general location we're working for. We're right next to Ascot, Royal Ascot Racecourse, horse racing course. Just down the road from Windsor Castle, and the Queen used to like to come down here quite often and watch the horses run. Okay, so all we have to do here today is get this ceiling done in this bathroom. Don't have to touch any of the walls. These apparently having panels over them, full flat panels. So we've just got to get this one wall done. It's a little bit rough, but I think we can get away with a couple of decent coats of multi-finish over it. There's a little chase up there, and I've got a little bit of bonding in. One of the lads did some bonding over there, so we'll probably fill that up with that. Just get some scrim over it, across this crack, give it a good PVA, and just get it done, I guess. There's not much to say about this one. So we've got to do a little job later this afternoon, and it's patching up a bit of a ceiling. So I'll just have a sniff around, and there's a nice little rubbish pile out here, conveniently with some plasterboard and some bits of wood. The craft is on its way to its maiden voyage. Brand new slippery trail. Working underneath because I'm not on a crate. I can stretch my arm up. Look, spotlight holes. Perfect combination to get a bit of plaster in the eye. Glasses are on. Okay, so that first coat's all on with that new trowel. You can see it's bellying and stuff with the texture. No point in touching that for a bit. It's surprisingly holding back quite a bit. I thought it might suck off a little bit faster than that, but no, it's hanging. Remember, we primed it up with a little bit of PVA, let that pull in, went a little bit tacky, and we've gone straight over it. The ceiling was plasterboard, so we don't need to do anything to that. Just go straight over it. And so all we're doing is the ceiling, this wall, and then this little bit of wall, and everything else is having panels on it. So there you go. All we can do now is just let this pick up 5-10 minutes, and we'll come back and give it another flatten. Starting to rust up already. Okay, so we gave it 10 minutes and we flattened that first coat in, and now you find this stage where we've just knocked up and we put the second coat on. This time I've dropped down to the 16-inch trowel. It's already broken in and that. It was just in there, it's Shay's trowel. It's a small room. So yeah, as you can see, it's gone on a lot nicer. Like I say, because this wall was in such a state already, we're doing it with 2 coats, so there's no getting away with any 1 coat sponge float going on there. So we've got the 2 coats going on. So what we did, we had a tiny little chase up there. We knocked up some really stiff finish, tiny little bit, and we filled the chase up. Obviously we've PVA'd it all beforehand. Filled the chase up really stiff, then we used the dirty water that we knocked up from that stiff gauge, and we used that to speed up the first coat. And then we kept a little bit of that back and washed the bucket out, and then we used the dirty water from that first coat for this second coat, and it's starting to tighten up. So yeah, it shouldn't be too long. Leave it on for 5-10 minutes, and we'll come in here, give it a trowel up, and you know, it's a very touchy-feely thing. Still very wet at the moment. So there you go. We can pretty much get tools tidied up and just leave our wet brush out and our trowel for trowel it up, and then we can get out of it and get on to the next job for today. So even though we're not plastering the walls, we've still taken time to put some scrim down there, because when you've got things like this gap, let's see, and there's going to be some sort of full panel going right there, just putting the scrim around there, obviously when they do put the panel, it does produce a chance of cracking, but it also makes your edge a lot tidier and a lot easier to plaster. Because if you don't do that, you can get like little lumps of it, it's going to fall down into that crack, it's going to start going hard and stuff, and when you come to do your troweling up, you've got a good possibility that you might catch one of these lumps, and whilst it's in wet stage, with your trowel, you'll drag it across your ceiling and gouge out a massive great big scratch that you need to repair. So at the moment, we're giving it its first trowel, and this is the sort of residue I'm getting, but I'm kind of pushing that back in the ceiling, you see. This is why I like using these little 4-inch brushes, especially these ones from Wick. So what we do is we just liven up, and it's almost like sponge floating. Just liven yourself up a little area. You can use it to start tidying up your internals.
And then with that stuff, we're opening the trowel up initially. We're scraping a lot of stuff off. And just on our final little pass, we're closing the trowel back up and we're squishing a little bit of that gear back over the surface. Scraping it up, opening the trowel up, really planing it off. And then our last little pass, squish a bit of that gear back over the surface. Remember, when I'm saying opening the trowel up, when I say open trowel, it means I'm opening up the angle. So we're coming in there, we're coming in, back, scraping it up, and then as we're squishing the stuff over the surface, we're closing the trowel back up and using that edge. Okay? Open, open, squidge. A lot flatter. Okay, one thing that makes this particular little job a little bit tricky is we've got this three-way angle. And what I mean is it's a live angle. So we've got this, obviously, this internal angle, this internal angle, this internal angle, all meeting together. Now, I don't normally use a corner trowel or a twitch because we use the straight carbon steel trowels. I tend to get them in with the trowel, and then at the end, I mean, that's why I like the little wet brushes, because you can keep brushing it and averaging it out, and then right at the very end I'll switch down to a right little inch brush or 2-inch brush and just brush those last bits in, and I get away with it. In fact, I think it looks quite well. Now, if you're using a really curved trowel, which you might be if you're a newcomer, like stainless steel, or especially the perma shapes, you're really going to struggle to get a live corner going for you, because the trowel's just too curved. It'll keep nipping into each other and then you'll end up with a bit of a wiggly internal. So if you have got a curved perma shape, you probably will need a corner trowel to sort your angles out. Another way to get around it, if we was doing the whole room, so you can do your opposite walls. So we'd have the ceiling on, possibly, then we'd have this wall, and we'd have that one internal that'd be live to deal with, we'd have that on, and then we'd come across the ceiling and we'd put the opposite wall on. So then we've only got one internal here. Okay, and then once all that is done, then we've got two hard edges on these walls. So then these internals are easier because this wall's gone off already. And then you do the back wall, and then that edge would be already hard. So you only got one live angle. You know, this wall's already set. You're coming into it now. So yeah, just a little tip there. Okay, another little tip for troweling up. So we've just wet it up with our wet brush. Now when you come into this internal, you might be inclined to keep coming out straight, like so. Little tip is get your trowel at an angle. It reduces the drag on this back edge. Square, and let your angle come. Over accentuating the movement there in the sweep. So if you come in, see? Same if you're coming up and down. A bit of an angle on it. If you're opening up, a little bit of an angle, not straight, up and down. Alright guys, for me it's flexi time. I like to use these Rafina Flex 2 stainless steel. Got quite a bit of flex in it, see? Bend it. Now I like these because they're a little bit wider. It's got the 5 inches on it, and they're not quite as flexible as some of the other brands, like Neela. And the Neelas tend to have a thinner blade as well. So my hand, I don't know, I tend to catch my knuckles on ceilings and walls. So I like the extra width of the trowel. And what this does, it just, once you've got the ripples out as best you can with the carbon steels, then you can switch to one of these, and you can use the benefit of the carbon steel to really close that surface in, and it just finals the wall just a little bit quicker, and doesn't tear so much. But yeah, you shouldn't really use one of these to put on with or use it all the way, because they're so flexible. They hide ripples, they don't eliminate them. Okay, every now and again you might be faced with something like this. Now, you can't get your trowel in there. Okay, I need to come in, see the pipe's in the way. So you're going to need something like this little old thing. Look, I hardly ever use it, I just scrape it off every time. One little trick is to leave it a little bit proud, and when it's getting off, I mean, keep your eye on it, get it as good as you can, but when you start, you can really open this little thing up and plane it back. Collect the fat, push it back in, pretty much exactly the same way as your trowel in the wall. But like I say, let it go off quite hard, and then you can be quite a bit rougher with it and get it flat. Another little tip, this window didn't need a bead on it. and it's quite a rough edge that we've had to go to as well. So it's really easy to have any sort of indiscrepancies if you go too tight on this corner to bleed across into the actual face of this wall here. So make sure we've got enough depth on there and that we've really overbled. Now you might be tempted at this point, come get your trowel and run it up and down. I find if you've got something like this, obviously there I've already got started. Get your trowel in this direction, just level a bit off. I'm trying to look through the camera and do it at the same time. And ideally you need to clean that off every time, because otherwise what happens is you end up putting a bit back on. Look, I'll put a bit back on. There. See, I've put it back on. That's because my trowel wasn't clean. So I'm gonna have a go up here. I'm not. Same down here, look. Clean the trowel off, that's look, putting it back on again. Okay, I'm going to brush that in. It's still not looking amazing, but apparently he's putting a panel on there and a little corner's going to come around it. Inch brush, or 2 inches. Tiny little bit of water, just take the excess off. And then, nice and gently, just see that little corner home, which we have done all the way along. Internals looking alright. So just nice and gently brush it in and just rounds them off. Okay, we know we're done now because you see this plaster starting to change colour and all the depths, the thinner areas are starting to set further in front of the deeper areas. It's starting to brown off and change that colour, which means it's setting. Okay, so eventually the whole of this plastering will all go exactly the same colour, and when it starts to dry out it will start turning back to its powder colour, and I must have some on me somewhere. Pretty much the same sort of colour that's on the trousers there. There's a bit of silicone on there as well. But you get what I mean, look. On the nails maybe. There you go, when it goes back to that sort of colour. So there you go, we are pretty much done. Okay, so we got out in the van probably just about 7:30 this morning. It's now just before 11 o'clock and we're all wrapped up here and ready to go over to the next job, which is, at the moment we're in Ascot and we need to get over to a little old place called Cove. So yeah, we're finished well ahead of time here using the dirty water to speed things up. Right, we'll see you on the other job in a minute. So we're just getting packed up here, and yeah, all that stuff does go in the back of that motor, just in the right way. Now let's have a look at this trailer. So we've used that this morning. It's literally 3 hours. Look at that rust, orange rust, straight away. Carbon steel trails will do that. This is why some people say you need to look at the bottom. You need to oil them. It's really going, that is. You need to oil them and stuff, but you know, if you're using the trails every day, you don't really need, well, you can oil them, but if you're using them every day, then that rust will blacken up over time, like this old carbon steel. There's a little residue of plaster that's gone off hard over it, and every now and again we scratch it off with a bit of sharp sand and a brick or something, and it cleans that right up. So you've got some build up down the bottom that needs cleaning up. So yeah, if you're not going to be doing that much plastering and you're only going to use a trowel every now and again, you probably will be better off with a stainless steel trowel, because they don't do that. The only stainless steel I seem to have is the Flexies, and as you can see, well, if you can see a clean bit, it's still steel colour, it doesn't rust. There's another one in here somewhere. I've got a little 11 stainless there, look. There's your stainless. But I only ever use that, you know, above door architraves or something, just when a bigger trail's not going to work and you need something a bit smaller. So yeah, we need to keep on top of this. I'm going to keep that washed, because if I leave this now, what will happen is, if I'm not continuously using it, all this rust will really oxidise on top and it will become pitted, and it will become well, unusable. You'd have to really like sharp sand it up and clean it up every time you get it out the garage. If it's like once a month or once every 6 months or something, yeah, probably not the best trowel for you if you are a DIYer
and only use a trowel every now and again. I mean, you can use one, they're good trowels, but you probably need to oil it up, and in its first sort of like week or 2 weeks of life, you really need to like pay attention to it. Here we go. Here, look, here's a perfect example of a carbon steel that doesn't get used very much. It's only had a little bit of use and then it's been left to sit. And look at all this, really pitted. And when you start plastering, that's really going to stick to that. It's really pitted and really rough. Although the edge isn't too bad. But what's going to happen is if you start trying to trowel up with that, because it's so pitted and so rough, that's going to leave almost like a knit comb sort of finish onto your plaster. You need to, it's this edge, that's the issue when it gets like this. So that will need like an oil stone or something, or at least, again, wet water, bit of sharp sand and a bit of brick, clean that all right off and take all that oxidation off of there. Look at that. It's not really usable in that condition.
Rubbish for this.
Now we can leave it by the side. Grass is immaculate. Okay, so here we are in Cove, and we've got this little thing to do. There's been a leak and we need to patch this ceiling in. The leak has not been very long. It's not been a persistent leak, so there's not much in the way of the materials perishing. It's got wet and then it's been dried out quite quickly. The leak was caught quickly. So there's no mould or anything up there, and it's been drying out for a little while. So we're going to stick our head up there and have a look. I'm just waiting for a hop up. As we can see, standing down here, the ceiling has been plastered flat and it has been replastered at some point. There's a bit of a scrim popping through, so yeah, it's quite a nasty crack. We might need to pop off some of this loose plaster and try to re-stabilise it. But yeah, stick around and we'll show you how we're going to patch this up with a bit of plasterboard, because this is a good one if you're a bit of a DIYer and you've got a similar problem and you need a plasterer to come in, or you might want to tackle it yourself. But you know, if you are going to get a plasterer in, you could probably save some money on getting the plasterboard up there, and I'm going to show you a little trick of how to do it. Okay, so as we can see, that it's been boarded, then plastered, then painted, and then it's been replastered. Looks like because of cracks. Now, looks like the water's damaged all this area here. How much of this do we need to get off, and how much are we going to try and repair? My rule is, if I can get this off with my bare hand, that needs to come off. If you start getting a tool underneath there, you can keep going and going and going and take loads off. So I'm just gonna, if I can get it off, I'm gonna have it off. We've had the little pins out of here, the tacks, and you can see that there is a little bit of movement to this ceiling. It's bouncing on that joist. So what we're probably going to do is get some screws in along here and pull this little section back up. And when the plumber has cut this out, he's cut at a bit of a peculiar angle, as you can see. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to strike a line, we're going to trim this off so it's more of a rectangular shape before we try and put another piece in there, because to try and replicate this cut will take a silly amount of time. It's quicker to cut this off square. Okay, all I've done is take a measurement here to the widest point and made the same measurement from the wall out to here, so that should make this line parallel with this wall. And then just to get the edges, look, I've just held the square up to get to there. That one's not too bad. You can see this side, could do a little bit of straightening up. So I'm going to make it nice and square and easier to put a new piece up. Okay, before we try and cut this out, because it's bouncing around a little bit, we're going to get this fixed up a little bit further. So we can see exactly where the joist is. This is my impact driver. I'm just going to pull this up nice and easy. Yeah, that's as far as I'm going to go at the moment, because I don't want to rupture through I'm going to put another one in here with this screw. And I'm going to just in turn just tighten them both up. So it's pulling that board up and not putting too much stress on one screw hole. Same with the other side, although the other side seems much more firm. Okay, that's pulled up nice and tight. And then we're going to cut it out. I'll change the battery on this somewhere. So, this is a multi-tool or an oscillating saw, whatever you want to call it. Vibrates. We've got this round blade on there. You get all sorts of different blades. We're just using this one. If you haven't got one of these, just a normal hand saw will do, but a plasterboard will blunt that, or a pad saw, which is specifically for cutting plasterboard. Now, I'm not a big fan of putting screws blindly into plasterboard when you don't know what's up there. There's been a leak and the plumber's fixed it. He's connected the pipe and this is really kind of resting on top of the plasterboard there. So we certainly don't want to put another screw in there and then cause another leak. So we need to make note of what's going on up there. It's well worth putting your hand up there and have a little feel about, and hopefully there's not a mouse trap up there. Okay, so you remember us on the other job we managed to pilfer a few bits and pieces that I thought might work for us. Bit of MDF. Now, what you might be tempted to do, because there's only one joist here, you might be tempted to cut out a bigger area so that you can get a fixing on two joists, but we're not doing that. We're going to put what I call a little stitch in. Any bits of wood will do. This seems ideal. Want to come over and have a look, Shane? I've already marked where this pipe is, so there's an elbow on it there, and then the pipe's disappearing off over this way, so we can't get it fixed. I've already poked up a bit of MDF here, and I'm going to bring it to there. So I know I can get a screw in here, and I can get a screw in here. Hold that still. There's a little bit up there. There's that long. This side is completely clear of pipes. A bit of batten will do it. It's just this is what we had to hand. So that can go there. That one we just close up the gap. And what we're going to do is get some screws and screw this to the back of the existing plasterboard. Let's change the battery again. See this one, we've got a little magnet on the side there to keep the screws on. Very handy. So hopefully on here, if I just get some weight on there, that's bit the MDF and it's pulling it down tight onto this. So now this is a fixing to this. Now we're going to get a fixing into this as well. But the joint's going to be okay because it's when two boards are able to bounce independently of each other, that's when you get a crack. But these aren't going to be able to do that. So if there's any bounce, they're going to be bouncing both at the same time. That's the theory.
That's it for now, yeah?
Yeah. Okay, so we've also got this at the other job as well. Probably a little bit overkill, but we can do exactly the same thing here. And it turns out we don't even need to cut it. We haven't even need to cut anything. We've just used them as we found them. So this one we can just slide up the back. We shouldn't have too much trouble getting a screw into it, just slide it back. And then, there's a good debris over there. Look, I've just got enough room that I can hold it down. If you haven't got enough room to hold it down, when you're trying to screw something up, before you put it up, you can put a screw in there, and obviously the screw, get it in halfway, and then you can hold onto the screw and pull on it, and that'll keep it down whilst you get your first screw in. But we don't need to do that. So again, the actual weight of this bit of wood should work for us.
felt it's pinched it and put it down nice and hard on top of this bit of plasterboard. Now we just need to do the other side. Should happen for us again. I can see the wood's lifting up. Keep spinning it. That's it, got it, pulled it back down. Did you get that?
Yeah.
That was awesome. Just see it home, I'm not over tightening it. Okay, cool. We're ready to get a bit of plasterboard on there. Downside of my 20.
24.
Oh, was it 24? Alright, yeah, go for it then. So there you go, we've got the board up and we've been able to get fixings along this line, through the actual joist and across this back line as well. And we've also scrimmed it, and for all that vibration it loosened some of this, so I've pinged it back to where I feel it's more secure again. Like I say, you do have to be careful because you can just keep going and going and going, because when you ping one bit it ruptures the next bit, ruptures the next bit, and the next thing you know you've gone so big with your patch. What we're going to do is going to get some PVA on here and make sure we get it with the brush right inside there, and that should re-stabilise it. We need the PVA on there because we need to use it to adhere the actual plaster. Also, remember that hairline crack along there? I've trimmed out a bit at the top, this second coat of plaster out, so that the scrim sits below, because if we tried to scrim on top of this plaster, then obviously we need to come down a little bit further again. So we're going to try and keep everything back to this line. So yeah, I've created a little chase so that the scrim can sit in it, and I'm quite happy that's all secure. So all we need to do now is hand over to Shay with his trusty wet brush, primed with PVA. We're going to PVA a nice big patch, much bigger than the patch that was up there, because we need to feather in. We're not sure how big we need to go with the plaster. So get this PVA'd, let it pick up a little bit, and then it'll be time to knock up some plaster. From where we was on the job earlier, had the good sense in our washing out bucket, save some dirty water from this morning. We're going to add that to our first coat and we're going to send it off like a rocket. Okay, so there's our dirty water. We give that a nice mix up, get it all up and going. Now, there could be a possibility that there could be some lumps in there, so what I tend to do is just filter it out, just hold your little wet brush there, and just let it squeeze through nice and easy until you've got the desired amount. Hopefully you shouldn't get any lumps in there. I don't think we're going to need much more than that, so yeah, cool, yeah. So there we go, we just filled it in and just bled out to that plaster line where we just cut out, and just come along there. Just need to leave that for a little while just to pick up. The front tyre's holding up well. We're not in Cove, we're in Cookham. We're in between Maidenhead and High Wycombe. I don't know why I was calling it Cove. Okay, this is picking up. We're going to get out our trusty sponge plate. Now this is going to do two things. It's going to liven up the very top surface, and it's going to iron out a lot of the ripples there and there, and any of the bellying or anything like that, just like a regular float would if you were floating, doing the backing coat or doing rendering. We're not going to spray water everywhere. You just lick it on, make sure we got enough. This is why I like using these smaller wet brushes. Make sure this is nice and wet. So just quickly liven up that very top surface. I don't know if I'm picking up on camera, but it is quite lumpy bumpy because it's been sagging under its own weight, but now we've allowed it to set. So we're holding the flake flat, not turning it onto its side like a regular trout, which some people do with their sponge floats, I've noticed. Really liven it up. If it feels like it's sticking, get some more water on there. when you want it to glide over the surface. Let around, able to feather right out from the edges, eliminate any ridges here. If you do need to, if there's a little hollow, you can use it as a trowel just to fill it. Look. Ideally, you need to hold that sponge float as flat as you can. Just notice where the ripples are. Make sure you iron them out. You keep going. If there's a bit of a hollow like that, a bit of a ripple, really iron it out. There we go. And because we've just done that, now we can use the benefits of the flexible trowel. Can you record him?
Mm-hmm.
We'll go straight to it. A little wet brush there. Just scrape that line. Flexible trowel is really good for doing stuff like this. Really allows you to feather things out nicely. So now we've got smaller particles that look much more fatty. That's what we're using to be able to feather out nicely. That bit there, let's come this way. Get some over that. There we go. Like I say, it is like two coating, but we put enough on there so it's thick enough. But instead of going away and knocking up another coat, and knocking up some more plaster, in the bucket and then applying that coat, it's kind of like we put the two coats on there at the same time, and now we've knocked it back, but we've knocked it back after we've put it on the ceiling already. So that's, you know, your two coat system. We've created that slip surface on that 2 or 1 millimeter depth. I don't know if you want to come in and get a look. We just need to let this pick up now and just trowel it up as usual. And because we've knocked it back whilst it's on the ceiling, it's going to go really, really quickly. Now, I've got to cop that off. So I just popped down the shops here. Something quite remarkable for me anyway. I was just walking back from the shops and some guy was flashing me on the road and pulled over, and I thought, who's this? Who knows me here? And anyway, pulled over, ran down the window, and he goes, "You're on YouTube, ain't you, mate?" And I was like, "Yeah, is that where you know me from?" And he goes, "Yeah, I've been watching your videos," and blah blah blah. And I had a short conversation, and yeah, I was just got recognised. So it was quite strange, but yeah, it was a very nice chap. I had a nice little chat, and I didn't get his name, but if you're watching this, nice to meet you, pal. So there we go, we're pretty much done. It's starting to brown off there, so it's really thin, so we know we're, you know, it's setting. There was a little hairline crack coming down here, so I just filled that with a little bit of fat. When we PVA'd, we PVA'd right back over here, so all this feathering in and brushing in is all going to stick really good. Probably just need very, very light sand, and then repainting it as you would do in a